Welcome back! My name is Ballerscuba. This is Video Games Over Time! We are still in 1986. Today, we're going to talk about leather goddesses of Phobos. The story of leather goddesses of Phobos takes us back to Infocom. We have talked about Infocom several times before. They have been responsible for most interactive fiction games we have played, including the Zork series, Planetfall, and the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. We last talked about Infocom in our video on Trinity. For Leather Goddesses of Phobos, Infocom turned to Steve Meretzky. We have talked about Steve Meretzky before. He has been responsible for Planetfall, Sorcerer, and the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The development of Leather Goddesses of Phobos started as a joke. After Infocom moved offices, there was a list of released games from the company, and Meretzky wrote Leather Goddesses of Phobos on the list as a joke. Though it was spotted and erased, the name became a joke in the company for any non-existent game. After a while, Meretzky decided to develop the name into a game. Meretzky was inspired by 1930s science fiction pulp stories and used that as a basis for the game's development. However, then CEO Al Vetsa was not thrilled with the idea for the game. It was only after Infocom was acquired by Activision, which we talked about in an honorable mentions video this year, that the game would be approved. Meretzky wanted to create a fairly controversial game. After having developed A Mind Forever Voyaging, Meretzky expected the game to stir up a controversy. When that failed to happen, Meretzky decided to create a game with a little bit of sex in it in order to try to get the controversy he wanted. Leather Goddesses of Phobos is an interactive fiction game. It uses the Z Machine game engine that we have played several times before. The player starts the game by choosing a gender for their character, either male or female. This character will then appear in 1936 Ohio. It's not long before the titular Leather Goddesses of Phobos show up and things get a little naughtier from there. Infocom released Leather Goddesses of Phobos to computers on July 11, 1986, known as Release 50. The latest original release of the game would be Release 59, which was released on July 30th, 1986. That is a brief backstory to the Leather Goddesses of Phobos. With that told, it's time to look through the physical items or feelies that came with the game. Please note that this game can be raunchy, but it is almost purely in the form of text. Still, viewer discretion is advised. The game comes with a manual explaining the game. At the beginning is a preface to the story. It reads, 1936. In the United States, a new miracle fabric called nylon was becoming popular. Alf Landon was running for president. Victor Hess had won the Nobel Prize for Physics for discovering cosmic radiation. Gone with the Wind was the best-selling novel, and steak cost 25 cents a pound. Elsewhere, black track star Jesse Owens was embarrassing Adolf Hitler by winning 4 gold medals at the Berlin Olympics. Edward VIII of England was abdicating his throne to marry a commoner. The Spanish Civil War was beginning to heat up, and the Leather Goddesses of Phobos were preparing to invade the Earth and turn it into their private pleasure world. Don't let anyone tell you that nothing ever happens in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Because on this day in 1936, you're snatched out of your favorite bar, kidnapped by minions of the evil Leather Goddesses. You are brought back to Phobos as an experimental subject as preparations continue to enslave every man and woman on Earth. If you succeed in escaping the clutches of the Leather Goddesses, you will begin an odyssey the likes of which you have never even imagined, except perhaps in certain very enjoyable dreams. With your loyal friend and fellow Earthmate at your side, you will begin a naughty, bawdy, rowdy, rousing, and very, very amusing romp across the solar system. Your mission, should you be able to catch your breath long enough to think about it, is to collect the materials you'll need to ultimately defeat the Leather Goddesses of Phobos and save humanity. Are you up for the job? The game comes with a set of 3D glasses, as well as a comic book in 3D. The comic book is titled The Adventures of Lane Mastodon. Its title is Lane Battles the Shameless Leather Goddesses. It is listed as number 91 from Infocomics. The cover reads, "When I deactivate the force shield, the hypersnake will devour the senator, and then you, Lane." There is then a page of advertisements, which does have references to prior Infocom games. Now would be the time to put on your 3D glasses at home. The comic then begins, "The Adventures of Lane Mastodon in thrilling 3D." Lane crosses town to meet Professor Ziggurat. "I wonder why the professor was so anxious to see me." "Thanks for coming, Lane. I've recently picked up some alarming signals on my fourth-dimensional Morse code receiver. Every 50 years, the evil leather goddesses of Phobos leave that tiny moon of Mars in an attempt to enslave the Earth. Their last attempt to invade our world was 50 years ago, in 1936, so their next attack will be this year. And if I've decoded their messages correctly, it's only days away. Holy Nova, Professor, we haven't a minute to lose. Thank the 9 moons of Jupiter that my spaceship's completely repaired from my battle against the Mercurian monsteroids." See Adventures of Lane Mastodon number 88. Lane and Ziggurat make a beeline for the spaceport. "I'll plot a course for Phobos while you get her space ready, Lane. Leather goddesses, here we come. Perfect blast off, Lane. Vroosh." Uh-oh, the deep space ionoscope detects another spaceship on a collision course with ours. Intra-ship biosensors indicate that the only passenger is unconscious. Teleport him over while I take evasive maneuvers. Got him, and just in time, too. There goes his ship, spinning into the void. "Professor, it's a woman, and a beautiful one at that, and she's clutching a message. It's gibberish, Professor. Some messages from Mars that I picked up on my 4D Morse code receiver were in a 3-letter transposition cipher. To decode them, D becomes A, E becomes B, and so on." "You're right, Professor. It says that the invasion force of the Leather Goddesses is based on the banks of the Grand Canal on Mars. I'll change course to those coordinates." As they near Mars, the visitor begins to recover. "You're safe now. I'm Lane Mastodon. And you are?" "I'm Lydia Campbell. My father was kidnapped by the Leather Goddesses. I've got to find him." "You must be Senator Campbell's daughter. Yesterday's newsreel said he was missing." "I guess I'm not a very good spaceship pilot. Oh, Lane, you'll help me find Daddy, won't you?" "Touchdown in 780 seconds. Put on those outfits. They're much more suited to the Martian climate." Suddenly, "Professor, what's wrong?" "A fan belt in the gyro stabilizers has snapped. Prepare for a crash landing." "She'll never fly again, Professor. We were lucky to jump out in time." "The Leather Goddess's base should be just on the other side of the canal." Minutes later, "The water looks pretty stagnant. Is it safe to cross?" "If you know what you're doing. Clap your hands at least once every 5 minutes to scare away canal beetles. Hop once every 9 minutes to frighten any bottom-dwelling sand crabs, and make the distinctive queepa sound of a Martian hawk every 11 minutes to take care of any gators." After crossing, "I think I can rig this ship's plasma drive to overload a few hours from now. The resulting implosion will destroy the entire spaceport." "Great! Lydia and I will sneak over to that guardhouse there. It might be where they're holding Senator Campbell." Lane and Lydia peer into the dim interior of the guardhouse. Suddenly, "Lane, look out!" "Oh, Lane, I'm so glad you're safe." "It doesn't look like your father is here." "Lane, this is my father's wedding ring." "Here's a scrap of foil with the spatial coordinates of Phobos. They must have taken him there." After Ziggurat finishes booby-trapping the attack fleet, Lane learns how to pilot the dead guard's interplanetary scout ship. "I've punched in the coordinates. They're taking us straight to the private pleasure palace of the Leather Goddesses of Phobos." Lane lands the ship on some planes inside of the palace. "How do we get inside, Professor?" Can't think. Feel tired. Oh, Lane, I'm getting dizzy. It's some kind of somnio ray. Can't fight it. Can't stay awake. An unknown amount of time later. Ah, the prisoner's awake. Wouldn't they have been disappointed to miss the snake feeding, especially since today's main course is Senator Campbell? Father, when I deactivate the force field, the Jovian hypersnake can have its dinner. Then we'll decide how to dispose of our other unwelcome visitors. On second thought, maybe we'll keep this human alive, as long as it promises to keep us entertained. My knife! Lane uses the stolen knife to cut his bonds. Leaping to his feet, he grabs the leather goddess and... Try this instead, snake! No, no! Gulp. This will only cause your own death to be much more painful, Earthman. And tomorrow we shall invade your planet and all humans will become our private toys. Suddenly, boom! It's the invasion fleet blowing up to the guard spaceship. As the destruction of the airfield continues to rock Phobos, Lane leads them to the scout ship and skillfully pilots it back to Earth. Later, thanks to you, Lane, Earth is saved. And later still, oh, Lane, how can I ever thank you for saving my father? The end. Until the next exciting issue of Lane Mastodon. The game also comes with a double-sided map of the secret catacombs, one for the lower level and one for the very lower level. Finally, the game comes with a scratch and sniff card. It has 7 different dots to scratch, labeled 1 through 7. It reads, Leather Goddesses of Phobos. Under penalty of unspeakably painful death at the hands of the Leather Goddesses of Phobos, do not scratch and sniff until the story tells you to do so. Those are the physical items that come with the game. With those explored, it's time to play the game for ourselves. And here we are in the game. The game starts with a warning. Warning! Some material in this story may not be suitable for children, especially the parts involving sex, which no one should know anything about until reaching the age of 18, 21 in certain states. This story is also unsuitable for censors, members of the moral majority, and anyone else who thinks that sex is dirty rather than fun. The attitudes expressed and language used in this story are representative only of the views of the author, and in no way represent the views of Infocom Incorporated or its employees, many of whom are children, censors, and members of the moral majority. But very few of whom, based on last year's Christmas party, think that sex is dirty. By now, all the folks who might be offended by Leather Goddesses of Phobos have whipped their disc out of their drive and, evidence in hand, are indignantly huffing toward their dealer, their lawyer, or their favorite repression-oriented politico. So, hit the return enter key to begin. I have to do it twice. And now we can actually start the game. We start in Joe's Bar. The place, Upper Sandusky, Ohio. The time, 1936. The beer. At a nickel a mug, you don't ask for brand names. All you know is that your 5th one tasted as bad as the first. Leather Goddesses of Phobos, Moretzky describes it as a racy space-age spoof. Copyright 1986 by Infocom, release number 59, the latest one of at least this original version. Joe's Bar, an undistinguished bar, yet the social center of Upper Sandusky. The front door is almost lost amidst the hazy maze of neon that shrouds the grimy glass of the south wall. Doors marked ladies and gents lead respectively northeast and northwest. You feel an urge. The urge is to go to the bathroom. But before we do that, we have to take care of a couple things. We'll start with verbose. I do that for every Infocom game that I play. And then the second one is to set our raunchiness, naughtiness level. I will say that I have not played the game before. So I don't know really what all the different levels really mean. But based on what I am told, Tame is the lowest level. That will have basically no suggestive language. It won't have any curse words. And from what I understand, is not very fun. Then we have Suggestive. That's kind of the middle level, and that's the default. I'm told that we'll have curse words, but not necessarily a lot of sex in it, so to speak, or really any sex. Based on what I'm told, the highest level, which is lewd, and what we're going to be doing, will have curse words and some kind of sex in it, but it's not to the point that it will be too bad. I'm told that nothing in the game is going to be too bad. But once again, I have not experienced it for myself, so I can't say for sure. But once again, viewer discretion advised. If you don't want the lewd level, that's what we're going for here. So let's go with lewd. And then they ask my age. I'm kind of curious. If I say 18, what will they say? Acceptable age? If I do it again, you're in that mode. All right, so 18 is apparently good enough. I was kind of wondering if they were going to ask, okay, now what state are you from? So I could try to figure out what states in the 80s the legal age was 21 and not 18. For the record, a lot of that stuff is dated. I think that it's 18 and 16 in a lot of states. That's what I hear. But definitely the moral majority stuff is dated. That was kind of a faction of the Republican Party's voter base in the 80s. They considered themselves the moral majority. We're right, basically. So we have two options. We can either start by declaring ourselves a lady or a gentleman. That's what the purpose of the bathroom scene is. We are going to label ourselves a gentleman because not only is that what I am, I'm also told that that's kind of the default and that some of the writing for the female run is not as cohesive, I guess. They basically say you want to be male for this game, but there is an option for female as well. But we'll stick in male for this one. And we've made it to the gents' room. This filthy bathroom belies the existence of disinfectant. A single toilet and sink are the only fixtures. More breathable air can be found to the southeast. You can see a stool here. It's a wooden stool. I feel like we should point that out when we're in the bathroom. So let's go ahead and take the stool. You trace the urge to the region of your bladder. That's a very complicated sentence for what we need to do. We need to pee. Now that the crisis has passed, you notice a strong and familiar odor pervading the room. Yeah, let's go ahead and get out of here. Southeast. Back to Joe's bar. And now we kind of just need to kill time, so we'll try to talk to Joe. You've had enough. Apparently I've had enough. 5 is a lot of beers just sitting there drinking them. Yeah, we'll just keep going. Usually, last time I think it took me 2, but now it took 3. All right, you've had enough. A brilliant flash of green light seems less unusual when followed by the appearance of tentacled aliens, as is the case with the current flash of green light. The tentacles wrap roughly around you as you faint. After an unknown amount of time, well, let's cut the bullshit. First curse word. 7.3 hours later, you wake. Your head feels as if it's been run over by several locomotives, or at least one very large locomotive, and your clothes are now unrecognizable. And we're in a cell. You're in a large cell with a soft, cushiony floor. A wide door, closed naturally, forms the southern wall of the cell. Hanging on the wall is a painting of a pussycat. You can see a flashlight, a stool, and a blanket here. Someone thrusts a tray into your cell. A hunk of brown food on the tray looks unappetizing, but smells deliciously familiar. And we got 8 points already. Hooray. Now that I think about it, last time didn't I only get 7? Either way, like I've done a little bit just to make sure that everything worked properly. Then I got stuck. So once again, I do have a guide in front of me because I don't like taking on Infocom games and text adventure games without knowing what it is I'm supposed to do. People don't like me not being able to solve puzzles. So we're going to go ahead and take everything in this room. So we got the tray, the flashlight, the stool, the painting, and the blanket. Yeah, the painting of a pussycat. There's going to be a lot of innuendo in this game. There's a reason he didn't just say cat, right? So how do we get out of the cell? Right, we're in basically a prison cell. You just open the door. The wide cell door swings open. Don't know if I would have thought of that. Like, if I was playing the game blind and didn't have a guide, I would not have thought to just open the door. I would have been stuck in here for a long time and then had to look it up. So let's open the door and then head out. We've made it to the end of the hallway. A wide cell door lies open to the north, and a narrow cell door lies closed to the south. The hallway ends at a gleaming metal door to the west and continues east. Something, possibly this very sentence, tells you that it would be dangerous to travel east or west. A sign is posted next to the stairs which lead both upwards and downwards. Okay, so we have stairs, we have a hallway, but what we actually have is a narrow door. We're going to open that and head inside to the south. As you enter, a man, sitting limply in the shadows, stiffens and rises to his feet. A human! They got you too? I've been here a week. When you opened the door, I figured it was a guard. Was it unlocked? I never thought of trying it. I wouldn't have either. By the way, my name's Trent, from Alaska. I'm not too bright, but I'm strong as an ox, and I'm great with my hands. Maybe we can lick these leather goddesses together. Innuendo. Other cell. You are in a very tiny room with a rock-hard floor. A narrow cell door to the north is open. A crumpled paper lies discarded in the corner. There seems to be some writing on it. Trent is here doing some quick limbering exercises. If you're playing as a female character, it won't be Trent, it'll be Tiffany. I assume that they both want to lick these leather goddesses. Let's go ahead and take the paper. We'll read the paper. There's a seemingly meaningless matrix of letters on the paper. Of course it's not meaningless. What it is the matrix, it just kind of goes, some of them go left and right, some of them go right to left, some of them go up to down, some of them go down to up. So what I can see already is on the top, it says rubber hose backwards. I don't really see anything left or right in the second one or the third. Then we have phone book in the fourth. Nothing in the fifth. The sixth is headlight. And the bottom says cotton balls backwards. All right, so then I think... Yeah, the important thing is that we'll get some information out of it, but know that this probably needs to be written down so that you can try to figure out where things are, and then you can start circling things. Apparently, you're supposed to get, like, hissing out of this at some point if you kind of solve the whole puzzle. Either way, we have taken the paper. We got what we needed. Let's head north, back to the end of the hallway, and we can go up to the observation room. Calvin Coolidge once described windows as rectangles of glass. If so, he may have been thinking about the window which fills the western wall of this room. A tiny closet lies to the north. A sign is posted next to the stairs which leads both upwards and downwards. Trent loyally stays at your side. Yeah, he's just going to be following us this whole time. Calvin Coolidge, American president. I wrote a paper on him in like 5th grade. 4th grade, 6th grade? I don't remember. I was in elementary school, and I don't remember much other than he did not talk a lot. So any quotes from him are going to be probably like pulled like teeth out of him. Somebody wanted him to describe windows, and he was like, I don't know, they're rectangles of glass. Famously, when he decided to not run again for a second term, he just slipped a reporter a piece of paper that said, I'm not running, or something like that. Took over... when Warren Harding died, so I want to say like 1922 is when he was president. So yeah, all this stuff is going to be dated. Anyway, let's go ahead and move from the observation room north. It's too dark to see a thing. There's this distinctive odor here, though. We will light a flashlight. The room is barely large enough to turn around in. Just to prove it, you turn around. As you do, you spot a black circle about 2 feet across, seemingly painted on the floor in the corner. A shelf protrudes from one wall very close to the ceiling. The closet is open to the south. A strong odor pervades the closet. Trent is here, alertly surveying your surroundings. Sitting on the shelf is a wicker basket. So we're going to need that wicker basket. I can't help but notice that there's 2 men in a closet together. That's probably an innuendo as well. We'll drop the stool. And then we'll stand on the stool, and then we will take the basket. And then we'll head down from there. And then I believe we need to stand in the circle to do what I need to do next. This is where I got caught last time. There we go. We'll stand in the black circle in the corner. You're sucked into the hole in a direction that isn't down, but neither is it one of the other directions with which you're familiar. But we've made it to the jungle. You're surrounded by hot, steamy, primitive rainforest, judging by the overpowering heat, the excessive humidity, and especially by the gigantic Venus flytraps sidling your way. You must be in the death-clogged jungles of Venus. Sure. A path runs east-west through the jungle, but don't even think about going west unless you love wading into 4 tons of man-eating lettuce. A few seconds later, you see Trent's earlobe appear, followed almost immediately by the rest of him. The Venus flytrap sidles closer. Since when did they move? I mean, it is a Venus flytrap, so it's on Venus, but yeah, Venus does not look like this. Either way, we want to get out of here by going east. A mighty tree rises before you in the center of the path. Suddenly and without warning, as is the nature of the jungle, it dies. Within seconds, the tree is consumed by Venusian hypertermite, which then move off in search of other dead trees, leaving a massive hole in the ground. We've made it to a fork of sorts. This jungle path, once split here, went around a mighty tree and rejoined off to the east. Now it splits here, goes around a mighty hole, and rejoins off to the east. Trent trails along. As the Venus flytrap scurries along, you dash to the eastern side of the hole in order to be as far from it as possible. Okay, let's head east from here again to a clearing. This is a tiny anti-oasis of barrenness amidst the teeming Venusian jungle. Winding paths enter the jungle in most directions. You can see a can of black stain here. Trent enters just a few steps behind you. Holy tropism! The Venus flytrap loses interest in you and crawls away. I mean, I'll be honest, like, Moreski is funny in these. I like him. I should point out that kind of in the 30s, this was the idea of what Venus would be like. It's hotter there, therefore it's like a humid jungle. And then Mars is colder there, so it's like a barren desert with no vegetation at all. That was kind of the general idea of the time. I would disagree, but they didn't care. We'll take the can of the black stain, and then we will head northwest. You walk swiftly down the trail. It turns, it twists, it narrows, vines grab at your ankles, and bird-sized insects close in for a kill. Suddenly, we made it to the back door. You're near the rear entrance of a house. To the south, trails enter the jungle to the east and the west. An extraordinary number of door-to-door salesmen are camped out here, having been booted away from the front door, but still hopeful of making a sale. Trent loyally stays at your side. A salesman approaches you. You look like a fellow who can spot a good deal. One of my machines could change your life. Let's barter. Offer me something as an even-up trade. We will give the salesman our flashlight, which does not seem like something I should do, but that is what we are going to give him. Eagerly, the salesman accepts the flashlight, mentioning that he knows a Plutonian plutocrat who will trade his life fortune for one, and drops an odd machine at your feet. It's a tea remover, he explains. You ponder what it removes. Tea stains, hallway tea intersections, even TV star Mr. T crosses your mind, until you recall that it's only 1936. But before you have a chance to ask the salesman, he points the flashlight upwards and a giant Venusian megamoth swoops down and carries him off. The other salesmen scatter like frightened salesmen. It's not Mr. T, unfortunately. Alright, we are going to take the tea remover. And then can I talk to Trent? Trent's supposed to talk to me at this point, so talk Trent. Talk to Trent. There we go. Trent looks at you expectantly, as if you seem to be about to talk. Trent trots over to you. I've got a plan to bring these leather goddess jokers to their knees, he says, flipping you a matchbook. The cover of the matchbook is filled with scrawled notations. If we can scrape up these items, I can whip up something that'll knock 'em cold. A super duper anti-leather Goddesses of Phobos attack machine. All right. Look at matchbook. The cover of the matchbook is filled with scrawled notations. You briefly open the matchbook and see that there are no matches left. Read matchbook? All right. Most of the scrawlings are a blueprint for a vastly complicated device. Below that is a parts list. A common household blender, 6 feet of rubber hose, a pair of cotton balls, an 82-degree angle, a headlight from any 1933 Ford, a white mouse, any size photo of Jean Harlow, of course, very famous actress at the time, a copy of the Cleveland phone book. Cleveland? No, what happened to Upper Sandusky? All right, we got more points. That kind of matters. Let's knock on the door. Yeah, that's how we're going to figure out a lot of these. A lot of these were also in the Matrix that we got from the piece of paper. The door is thrown open by a wild-eyed mad scientist. 9, 9, 9, I do not need any. Then, taking a closer look at you through spectacles thick enough to stop gamma rays, he says, "Oh, not ein salesman. In fact, just der type I need for mine experiment." He grips your wrist with surprising strength and drags you inside. Mad scientist. Probably because of Einstein. He wasn't mad, though. He just had bad hair. Looks can be deceiving. From the innocent appearance of this quiet living area, you'd never guess that all sorts of twisted, maniacal, perverted experiments are in progress a short flight of stairs below. There are doors to the north, open, and south. See a mad scientist here. Trent trails along. You feel uneasy as the mad scientist locks the door behind you and dissolves the key in a vat of acid. That's probably not good. Let's trust him, though. Let's go down to the laboratory. The scientist's madness is finally evident by his lab. Filled with many expressions of insane genius, such as the 2-gauged gorillas, 1 male and 1 female, the 2 slabs for strapping down human victims, and the huge red power switch. That all sounds bad. A closed door leads north. At the foot of the winding stone stairs is a black circle, which apparently is a warp. It seems that the cage contains a rubber hose. Trent follows you. The mad scientist bounds down from the first floor, activating a guaranteed 100% effective Vaporozap energy barrier across the foot of the stairs. This all sounds bad. Let's put the chocolate that we picked up in the cage. Done. And we will wait. Again, exhibiting extraordinary strength, the mad scientist straps you down on the first slab and Trent onto the second slab. We're gonna wait. The mad scientist flips the huge red power switch and you suddenly find yourself within the cage. Oddly, you can also see yourself still strapped to the first slab. As you swing across the cage to get a better look, you realize that you're now inside the body of a gorilla. I think there's like 5 major movies of the time that did this plot. All right, we're going to take the hose and the chocolate as the gorilla. And then we are going to wait. Wait again. Ach! Yells the mad scientist. Mein theory is wrong. Their sex drive of a species resides in their brain, not in their body. He dashes off. Through the briefly open door, you see 2 Venus flytraps running madly around the next room. One is chasing while the other is frantically trying to stay as far away as possible. Okay, we're just going to ignore that, and we're going to eat the chocolate. It's a piece of really good chocolate. You feel yourself getting a sugar rush. We will then bend the bars because we're a gorilla. Bellowing madly, you pull at the bars. Slowly, they spread apart to form an opening. We will get out of the cage, and then we will drop the hose. We'll unstrap your body, I think is what I need to put. Unstrap your body. All right, your body leaps for a rafter and lands back on the first slab with a loud whoomp, looking momentarily stunned. All right, we will unstrap Trent. Why do you have to phrase it that way? As you untie Trent's body, it attempts to wrap its arms around you as though they were tentacles. You feel the sugar rush ebb. No, my sugar rush. We need the sugar rush in order to bend the bars. Let's push the switch. Zap, you're back in your own body. The gorilla looks confused and slinks back into the comfortingly familiar environment of the cage. I would disagree with that, but okay. We'll stand up, get off the first slab. You also help Trent up from the second slab. And then we will take the hose and we will enter the circle. I guess we got what we needed. You're sucked into the hole in a direction that isn't down, but neither is it one of the other directions with which you're familiar. We made it to the Infocom booth. This small booth, which opens to the southeast, contains an ordinary pay Infocom with a handset, coin slot dial, coin return knob, and coin return box. A red sign is posted over the Infocom. A few seconds later, you see Trent's elbow appear, followed by, almost immediately, by the rest of him. Alright, we'll push the knob. Clank. We'll open the box, which gives me a coin. A coin falls to the ground. We're going to take that. All right, we got the hose, we got a coin. Let's head southeast to a rocky cliff top. Even the most adaptable Venusian flora can't gain a foothold on this outcropping, so the jungle, which can be entered to the north or west, peters out here. To the southeast, your clifftop vantage offers a stunning view of more lush jungle, stretching unbroken to the horizon. To the northwest, between the two paths into a jungle, is a Infocom booth. At the edge of the cliff is a black circle. Trent trails along. Yet, the coin is all we need here, so we're just going to move on. Enter the circle. You're sucked into the hole in a... Yeah, we've done that so many times. We warped again. Royal docks. During the peak of King Midar's reign, a cruel joke went around the kingdom that Midar's two greatest loves were his royal docks and his royal ducks. The joke was never very good and has long since been forgotten, and the ducks perished years ago from a sexually transmitted disease. But the docks remain, jutting into a wide Martian canal, which flows from west to east. Behind you to the south is a ruined castle. A barge, handcrafted from the fine Martian cedar wood, is moored at the end of the dock. A few seconds later, you see Trent's nose appear, followed almost immediately by the rest of him. So now we've made it to Mars. Let's go south from here to the throne room. This is the throne room of the once potent King Midar, of legendary fame. Of course, the version you've probably heard is significantly warped from what really happened. In the diseased version of the legend, commonly transmitted on Earth, Midar is called Midas. The king was granted his wish that everything he touched would turn to gold. His greed caught up with him when he transformed even his own daughter into gold. King Midar's wish was, in fact, that everything he touched would turn to 45-degree angles. No one has ever explained this strange wish. The most likely hypothesis is a sexual fetish. In any case, the tale has a similar climax, with Midar turning his own daughter into a 45-degree angle. King Midar sits upon the throne, looking dejected and lonely. Next to him is a pile of 45-degree angles. One stands out from the others, thanks to its golden hair and flowing white gown. The main entrance of the throne room is to the south, but a tight opening leads north. Trent loyally stays at your side. We will go south of here to the ruin. I don't know how we figured out the King Midas tale thing all from just standing in the throne room, but it feels like we did. But in the ruin, you stand amongst the ruins of a mighty castle. The only part of the castle that is more than a pile of rubble is to the north. A path leads out of the ruin to the south. Trent enters just a few steps behind you. I'm going to stop reading all the stuff that Trent does, unless it's important. When he just follows, All right, let's head south of here to the Martian desert. As you wander amidst these towering dunes of red Martian sand, you notice three distinct pathways, north, east, and west. We will go east to another ruin. This ancient castle now lies in ruins. There do seem to be quite a few of them around here, eh? All that remains of its once proud ramparts are dust and rubble, and an occasional stone block. A path leads away from the ruin to the west. To the east, unchartable desert. Sitting on one of the stone blocks is a large green frog. Something about it catches your eye. We'll head southeast, though. No, east. Just east. To the Martian desert. Martian dessert. I read it wrong. No, not a typo. Dessert refers to the 50-foot Martian cream pie here. A mirage, of course. People hopelessly lost in the desert often see strange mirages. Mirages such as cream pies, lakes, or trails to the northwest or southeast. Let's go to the southeast then. To the oasis. I guess the paths are a mirage. This is a remarkable sight on arid Mars. Subsurface water bubbling up in a fountain, flowing around a black circle and soaking into the thirsty sand. A path curves east around the sand dunes, to the west, unchartable desert. A little bunny rabbit is sipping at the waters of the oasis. Trent loyally stays at your side. Inexplicably, the circle fades before your very eyes, slowly going from black to white. We will then paint the circle. We have the black stain after all. We picked that up a while ago. Let's paint the circle black, and then we can enter the circle. And we've made it to Cleveland. Well, we have to get a phone book here, don't we? You suddenly find yourself longing for the slime pits of Venus or the sandstorms of Mars. This particular section of Cleveland has exits to the northeast and south. Left buttock appeared. I don't know if you can figure out Trent's left buttock from his right, but apparently our character can. Then the rest follows along. I mean, what does Steve Maretsky have against Cleveland? I've never been. I've heard depressing, but I don't know. Let's go south from here. Apparently Cleveland sucks. I've been told Cleveland rocks. To the lawn. Yes, lawn is the kindest word for this muddy patch of limp crabgrass. Miraculously, someone actually seems to give a shit about this lawn because there are signs of recent activity, a wooden rake and a large canvas sack. A fence rings the lawn. Through an opening to the north, you can see Cleveland. They put it kind of menacingly. Let's open the bag. Opening the canvas sack reveals a whole bunch of leaves. All right, we'll drop the tray, the can, and the paper here. I didn't put the Oxford comma. Honestly, neither did the guide. I probably will from this point forward, though. We'll take the bag and the rake. There we go. And then we can go back north to Cleveland, then northeast to the Teensy Weensy house. This rickety home is so petite that the entire first floor is only one location in this story. When you tire of this floor, you can go east, southwest, or up. We'll go up to the bedroom. The second floor of the house has an open window overlooking the street and a stair leading down. The bed is unmade, with the sheet lying half on the floor. We'll take the sheet, and then we will rip the sheet. You rip the sheet into strips of cloth. We will tie the strips into rope. With the expertise of one who has watched countless prison escape movies, you tie the strings into a rope. We'll tie the rope to the bed. All right, okay, the rope of cloth is now tied to the bed, and we will throw the rope out the window. The rope of cloth hangs almost to the ground. Trent looks odd. Super idea. Doesn't look too strong, though. I'm lighter, so I'll go down. All right, we'll wait for him. Trent climbs down the rope and unscrews the headlight. I feel like we should have seen the headlight first, but we didn't. But yeah, there's a headlight down there. Suddenly, a truck barrels down the street and hits Trent, carrying him out of sight. Moments later, you hear an explosion. As the smoke drifts past the window, your eyes fill with tears. You hang your head in sorrow for a moment to honor your brave, loyal companion who gave his life that humanity might be safe from the terrible scourge of the leather goddesses of Phobos. We'll just keep waiting. The ceiling collapses into a cloud of old plaster and startled termites, and out of the middle of it steps Trent, looking disheveled but, for the most part, alive. That truck explosion knocked me into the basement of some nutty professor who strapped me into a faster-than-light missile he was about to test. Halfway to Pluto, I was intercepted by slavers looking for asteroid mining laborers. I beat off about 30 of them. But they just kept coming and coming. Just then, I noticed a black circle which led to a spot about 4 feet above the floor of the attic, or what used to be the floor of the attic. Anyway, I got the headlight. He points to the battered but usable headlight on the floor. Hooray, we got it. Let's take the headlight. We're up to 81 points now, by the way. I have not been tracking that very well. We'll climb down the stairs back to the teensy-weensy house. Then we'll go east of here to the garden. The house opens onto a fragrant garden. A piece of sod has been recently planted, and a clump of yellow bulbous flowers grows nearby. The flowers barely reach the trellis which rises behind them. You can re-enter the house to the west. Okay. Don't think we need to... we do need to do stuff. Put the hose and the headlight in the bag. That will open up some room for us so that we can take the whole trellis. Then we'll move the sod. Moving the sod reveals a black circle. Shocking, I know. But we can enter the circle, and we have made it back to the end of the hallway. This time Trent's big toe appeared. No idea which foot it came from, though. But we made it back to the end of the hallway, kind of where we started. So let's go back up to the observation room, then north back into the closet, and then we'll enter the circle again, which takes us back to the jungle. Flies must be in short supply because the Venus flytrap nearby expectantly rustles a few stalks and begins creeping in your direction. We'll go back east to the fork of sorts. And this time, we're going to put the trellis on the hole. The trellis barely spans the hole. The flytrap sidles around the hole towards you. All right, we'll cover the hole with leaves. The leaves cover the trellis, and we've made ourselves a trap. It's still coming our way, though, so let's head east. And once again, the flytrap loses interest in us, so we can head back to the fork, where it says the edge of a trellis is just visible under a whole bunch of leaves. So we'll go west again, and then we'll have the Venus flytrap chase us, and we'll go east back to the fort, and we will wait. The Venus flytrap sidles closer. Wait again. Just keep waiting. There we go. Never before has splintering wood sounded so sweet or tossed salad looked so lovely. The amazing flying flytrap tumbles into your flytrap trap, covered with leaves and bits of shattered trellis, giving the plant the amusing appearance of a tar and feather victim. We did it! All right, so now that we have kind of dealt with the fly trap, we've made a bit of progress. I'm not entirely sure how far along we are. We might only be about halfway. This seems like a good time for me to save and stop here. So we are going to stop here. We will pick up from here next time. That is going to do it for this part of Leather Goddesses of Phobos. I've been Ballerscuba. This has been Video Games Over Time. I hope you laughed, I hope you learned, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching.